we've come to believe that public health and the medical system really, really cares about us. And they don't. They really, really care about profit and the
Mm,
gods they serve. I believe the whole point
agreed.
of it is to create perfect consumers from birth to death who will not be able to stop taking medication, who will never know the full capacity of vibrant health.
The world is filled with fluffy, ethereal podcasts about spiritual growth, transformation, and inspiration. Yeah, this isn't one of them. No, Find Your Flow is about what happens when life stops working. So let's get into it. No filters, no scripts, no curated sound bites, no fluff whatsoever, just flow. Hey there. I'm in the studio right now getting ready to record another incredible conversation. And I thought, why not ask you to subscribe? Subscribe right now. Hit that subscribe button because it turns out that actually helps other people find the channel. And my goal for 2026 is to reach 1 million subscribers. So let's do it. Let's hit the subscribe button. Share it. I already said that, but I'm saying it again. Share it. Let's help 1 million of us find our flow. And while you're at it, leave comments. Leave comments and let me know how you're doing. What are you feeling? How are you? And I really mean it. Leave comments. I read every single one of them. I'll even answer some. How about that? So leave your comments. Let me know how you're enjoying the show. Let me know if you have any questions, if you have any subjects that you would like to see on Find Your Flow in 2026. I'm putting together the guest lists. I'm sending out those invitations soon. Let me know what you think. Okay. Enjoy the show. The Reiki is flowing. And we probably just hit record as I said that, but it's true. The Reiki is flowing, everybody. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Marissa Heisel. Welcome to Find Your Flow.
Lisa, thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm thrilled to pieces to have a fellow cursor, a beautiful spirit, and someone who is so very wise. So I cannot wait to jump into everything that you're doing. Listeners, she, in her bio, she has these words, radical responsibility. And they stuck out to me like a freaking siren, blinking red lights where I was like, yep, this is a conversation I want to have. Now, and before we get into that, let's start off with your definition of flow. What is that?
I love this question that you start with, to be perfectly honest with you. To me, flow goes with something that I talk about all the time, and that is figuring out what our North Star is, who we truly are, which can sometimes be challenging. But when we do that deep work, when we have the courage and the bravery to really take a good look and go beyond all of the layers of everything that has been put on top of us, I look for alignment with who I am. What is my belief system? Who am I? And in my day-to-day everything, am I in alignment with who I know that I am? And there are clear signs when I know that I'm not in alignment that I know we're going to talk about in a minute. But to me, flow is that. Flow is when we are acting from our inner sense of guidance, our inner authority, which is what I also talk about all the time with women in children's health, that we have this inner authority, this inner knowing, this intuition that women are so incredibly capable of accessing until we give away that power. And we believe that we don't know what we know. And we subjugate our own healing and knowing to what we call external authorities, those experts outside of us, with huge quotes around the word expert. And we're no longer in that flow with who we are, with what we know, with our intuition. And when women get out of that, boy, does everybody around us know it. But it can take us a while to recognize that all of those red light warning signals that are going off are because we're not acting in flow with that inner alignment. Flow isn't just when things feel easy. Flow might also be when things feel damn difficult. I mean, I will tell you, in my family this week, from November 1st, November 11th, we lost 2 of our absolutely adored cats. Not an easy week. Oh yeah, in rapid succession. One young one, sick, suddenly gone, and then our 17-year-old 10 days later.
It's brutal. It's brutal.
It's brutal. It is brutal.
Yeah.
This animal, they both moved with us when we left Canada for Central America. The 17-year-old's been with us since my kids were toddlers. Not everything feels easy, but are you acting from your higher purpose? Are you acting from your inner knowing, even when things feel difficult? And I extend this question even to, I'm a huge believer that everything happens for us, not to us. And a lot of people are like, oh, yeah.
Nah,
When
even the
things,
bad, the ugly.
when things feel good, they're like, oh, yeah. But when things feel like crap, when it's ugly, when it's painful, when we're in doubt, when we're in fear, when we're in loss, when we're in grief, everything is still happening for us. We might not know why in that moment. Why did we lose 2 cats in 10 days? I don't know, but everything is always happening for us. And if we can trust in that and then trust in our own inner knowing, to me, that's flow in its highest capacity.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that you touched on the whole Pollyanna of it all, right?
Yeah.
That
Yep.
we don't have to keep this uber positive, happy, oh, this is so good for me that I had 2 losses in a week. It's so good. I'm learning so much. I'm more of like, fuck that shit. This really kind of sucks. And how about I acknowledge the truth of it?
Yep.
And totally in agreement with you. I call it being in alignment with my integrity. And my integrity tells me the loss of two beloveds in a week, in a span of days, fucking sucks. That's me living in a place of purpose and integrity. At the exact same time, because you can have multiple things true at the exact same time. It sucks and it's good for you. And when you're in the thick of it, you're not going to be able to necessarily figure out the why.
And
because
how
you're
do we walk
spinning in the
through
emotion
it?
of it.
And how do we walk through it in a way that is true to us? And how do I, as a mother of young adult children, support my kids who are grieving the loss of these 2 beloved animals that have been with them since they were very young children?
Absolutely.
How do we do that without going into victimization, without going into, the trauma, without going into things happen? They happen.
Yes.
And we have this capacity to work our way back out of it. And that's the beauty of life. It's also the beauty of learning. We learn from the positive and the challenging, from the grief and the joy. And when we go into the everything is trauma, and then we spin in the trauma, right? We don't want to do the healing because the trauma defines who I am. So if I heal it, who am I?
Yep.
It's and all of this works into the radical responsibility piece we'll get to. I'm sure that we'll get to. So
oh, I cannot wait. All right. So share with me, when is there a time in your life that you weren't in flow, where you didn't feel like you were living in alignment with your highest purpose? We've all been there.
Yeah.
How'd
and
you
if
get
we're
out of
honest,
it too?
we've been there many times, right?
Oh, I mean,
so many times.
Yeah, again and again and again. Yes.
Yeah. So one of them for me was when we were, I'm Canadian. I've always lived in Canada. And one of them was during the COVID
tell by your
years.
accent.
I do not say a boot. One of or a. One of them was definitely in the COVID years when it was a whole lot of totalitarian stuff rearing its ugly head. And I was not at my best. But let's skip over that because the last 5 years have been a bit of a shit show for everybody. I'm going to go back to having 2 young kids and being very aware that I was not in the right relationship with their father. And, it's really interesting when you're sort of contemplating separation when you have children. It's never easy to end a relationship. It's really not easy. And I often say these days, I had to leave, and I don't advocate divorce because it's so bloody hard, especially with kids. But there are also times where in your highest and best, you have got to. And I got to the point after going to the brink of separation and back multiple times that I finally was able to leave. But here's when I knew that I needed to. It's hard to see the clues as you're going through it. And for me, it always comes back to the inner body feel. When you start to feel physically ill, when your immune system starts to be out of whack, when you are, these days we talk about nervous system dysregulation. Even as a holistic chiropractor, that wasn't really a term that even I used back then in 2000 and 11. These days we talk about dysregulation. You start to feel it, that you wake up in the middle of the night with your heart pounding, your stomach is on fire with anxiety, literally in my throat. So I started having these episodes of I would just be speaking or breathing, and all of a sudden my throat would close and I could not breathe. And I would
Yeah.
be gasping for breath. There was once where my ex-husband was out with my 2 kids, and I was in downtown Toronto in our home, and I went out on my porch gasping for air because I thought, if I collapse, one of my neighbors might see me and call 911. So it goes from being an internal dysregulation and an emotional, energetic one to actually having physical manifestation.
Yes. Yes.
And there was that going on for me at the same time as becoming less and less and less patient as a mother with my children, who were young at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They were 6 and
Mm-hmm.
9, 7 and 10, and recognizing that I was not being the mother who I knew myself to be and wanted to be for my children, that relationship that I wanted with my children. And I was so clearly at that point out of flow that I made the only decision that I could make, which was to separate and leave the city with my kids.
When you
And
think
all of it
back on that,
changed. Mhm.
when you think back on that, were you empty? Did you feel like nothing was filling you up?
I probably would say that I felt pretty numb. I felt,
Mm.
I felt, how did I feel? I don't know if I felt like nothing was filling me up. I felt confrontational. I felt raw.
Okay.
I felt any little thing would set me on edge. Him,
Mm-hmm.
my kids, anything, because my inner capacity to hold energy was like really low. And the way that
Yeah.
I described it was that I wasn't somebody who could see the early warning signs, which had been there for years and years and years. I
Of
was somebody
course.
I
Yeah.
felt who needed to have multiple bricks thrown at my head before it got super clear, like thrown
Been
at my
there.
head by
Yes.
the universe. Like, hello, are you listening?
Yes.
No, are you listening now? How about now? Until they're like whipping at my head before I
Yes.
finally go, oh, okay,
I'm
I
sorry.
know
Did
what
you
this
mean
is.
me? What? Who,
Me?
me?
Me? But it's having the courage to do the hard thing.
Yeah.
And being out of flow comes with so many inner signals that we don't want to see until they're literally screaming. I mean, I talk about this quiet little inner voice of our intuition, and it's just talking away to us, and we're ignoring and ignoring, and it's louder and it's louder until it's literally screeching like a banshee before you're like, oh, hold up, as the universe is chucking bricks at your
Yes.
head. But these are difficult decisions to make. And we have to come from, and I've got a good friend right now who is going through it in the most emotionally abusive marriage, and she
Mm.
can't figure her way out of it because she's got a child who's a young
Yeah.
teenager, and she can't do it. And she will. I know she will at some point because it's like a living hell daily. But we have to know who we are in order to know when things are no longer acceptable. When we are acting not what somebody is doing to us, because that's
Mm-hmm.
abdicating our responsibility again. It's when we recognize that we are not acting in our own highest and best good. When we
Yes.
are not acting in alignment with our own inner truth, our inner knowing, our North Star. And that takes some sitting down and looking at and talking to ourselves about who are we really. That doesn't mean that we don't get to change our minds ever. You know, as we know more, we can do better, right?
That's
And so
right.
there
That's
might be
right.
things, there might be all sorts of things, medical decisions, political affiliations, you know, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
that we look back at
Relationships, where you live, who you live with,
relationships.
all of it.
Right.
Yes.
And we're like, at a certain point, we're like, oh, okay, this is no longer in alignment, or it was never in alignment, but I was in love or enthralled or something.
Right.
But we have
Or
to.
couldn't see the
Right.
exits or how to
Right.
get to the exits.
Right.
Blind, you know?
Blind.
Yeah.
But still having that sense of inner knowing of who we are. And within that, having every capacity and right in the world to change our minds,
Absolutely.
to make another choice
Absolutely.
over and over and over again.
I just had this interview last week with a psychiatrist out on the West Coast, and he was saying in every single moment, you can choose to do what's right.
Mhm.
Every single moment.
Mhm.
I mean, how absolutely amazing is that? Doesn't that make life just incredible? That in any moment you can go, oh my God, I can do something differently. And I think I'm going to try this. I think I'm going to try that. It's so It fills my heart with so much hope and joy. And I think in those little decisive moments, you start increasing your, I guess, feelings of empowerment,
Yes.
building your confidence, being able to get to the point where you can make bigger decisions. And
Yes.
the whole time that you've been speaking, I've been thinking of your friend. This is what happens when you're an intuitive, everybody. I'm tapping into your friend and thinking, you don't have to wake up and leave one day. What you can do is wake up and eat the food that you love, right?
Hmm.
Wear the clothes that you love. Go to the
Hmm.
places that fill you, that make you feel really freaking good about yourself. And enough times of doing that in every moment, you start building that capacity of confidence and empowering yourself. And you make that shift out of, I love that you put it this way, that victimhood of everything happens to me. And you shift into taking accountability and responsibility, because two things at the same time can be true. Yep, bullshit is happening to you. And yes, yep, you can choose to rise out of it and do something differently in
Yeah.
every single moment. Listeners, hear that. In every single moment, there is hope and possibility in every moment with everything.
And somehow I see that having been so completely, it's lost right now, that belief system.
Yes,
I
exactly.
look at our younger generations. I look at Gen Z and younger, and this sense of almost despair and hopelessness, and the amount of mental health issues and
Mm-hmm.
medicalization of those mental health issues, and the
Mm-hmm.
pathologization of everything. Everything needs a terminology. Everything needs a. How about you're really sad? How about
Right?
you're struggling? How about
Yes.
you don't need to identify and label everything because you're not your label. You have never been your label. Even when
Oh,
I was
wait.
in active practice as a holistic chiropractor and somebody would come in and say, I am, I have, I am, and I'd be like, we need to like separate out the attachment from the fibromyalgia, from the whatever
Yeah.
else it is.
Yeah.
You don't own it. You don't own it. You've got a constellation of symptoms that are pointing to something. Can we look at the root causes? Even then, before people talked about the words root causes, can we get to what's going on that's causing it emotionally, physically, spiritually,
Yeah.
chemically, nutritionally, like all of these things, instead of identifying with a label that then again keeps you stuck?
Yes.
Because if you let go of the label, and the label is part of your persona that you wear, that mask of this is
Mm-hmm.
who I am a person with ADD, ADHD, OCD, like,
Right.
name your poison. Yes, you might be struggling, 100%, not discounting that. And maybe you even need a little bit of pharmaceutical medication to get through it right now.
For
But
sure.
it is not
Yes.
the be all and end all panacea crutch for the rest of your life. Let's heal. But the healing
Woo!
is the radical responsibility part. And we are so deeply ingrained in this belief about quick, easy, and convenient that if you can pop something, all
Yes.
gone,
Yes.
until you need it again 3 hours later.
That's right.
Not healing. Can we
I think we're
heal?
addicted to symptoms.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Symptom, yeah. Symptom, but it's not just symptom. Okay, yes. Yes, we are. But who has told us that that's the
I
way?
can't say the word
Treating
treating though.
symptoms. Thank you.
Treating symptoms,
And
addressing
who has
symptoms,
told us
shining a light
that?
on
Yeah.
symptoms, but
Hmm.
never really treating anything,
Right.
never really healing anything.
Never really claiming our own inner capacity to be strong,
Yes.
to be whole, to be well, to be happy, to heal. Never. Because we're
That it's our
told you can,
right.
and it is, and every single person deserves that. Every single
Yes.
one. Not by virtue of your family, your money, your
Nope.
education, where you
Nope.
live, what you do, any of it. By virtue of walking this plane of earth, you deserve to be happy and healthy.
That's
And that
right.
looks different for people in different parts of the world.
That's
In
right.
some parts of the world, that might sound like it comes with a whole lot of cash behind it. And in other parts of the world, not so much cash, but a family that surrounds you and a village that takes care of you. And every single one of us deserves that. And somehow, this like suicidal empathy kick that we're all on that says that we all need to be 100% level across the playing fields, again, abdicates all responsibility for where we are in our lives, in our own culture.
Yes. 100%. Our son just got back. He just returned from a trip to Macedonia
Oh, wow.
where he stayed with a friend's friend's grandmother.
Hmm.
He had no idea. Nobody spoke English. He
Hmm.
was traveling with two friends. Their third had to cancel at the last minute, and he was the connector. But it didn't matter. Everybody just sort of made things work. And we're here in the United States. We're here in the States, very comfortable. And he was staying in an elderly couple's home on a farm, no running water, no indoor plumbing. And he said, and no one speaks English, right? So no one speaks English. They're all sitting around this table. Um, the family is all smoking cigarettes, totally out of the norm for his entire existence. And yet they're all sitting there eating a meal together. These beautiful people gave him meat. And I texted him and I said, these pictures are beautiful. Do you recognize what a gift that is, that they're sharing their food with you, that they're sharing meat with you? This is such an amazing gift. And he said, yeah, nobody speaks the same language. And yet I know that they care about me.
Hmm.
And he said, I'm sitting back and I'm watching these people who are in abject poverty, right? Just because it's just not what we're used to.
Hmm.
The capacity for friendship, for love, for connection. He said, Mom, I've never seen anything like this in my life. It makes me cry. He's like, I've
Hmm.
never experienced anything like this. And I said, yeah, there are different people all over this world. And
And
you're
we don't need to apply our lens to them.
exactly,
We don't.
exactly. What
And so
works for
when they
you works for you. What works for
right,
me works for me. I'm just going to
right.
recognize, don't be an asshole. I won't
Yeah.
be an asshole.
Thank
Like,
you.
it's so
Words to live
simple.
by. Yeah. Those are words to live by. Just don't be an asshole. And that's really, really challenging these days.
It
Really
is.
challenging.
I think because everyone sees things from their perspective, and because it's their perspective, it's the right perspective,
Mm.
instead of saying, this is my experience. And if I can have an experience, that means you can have an experience. And if I feel mine is right, then you must feel yours is right. And
Hmm.
mine is totally valid. That means yours is totally valid. If we're equal,
Hmm.
that's equality.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to judge you. Please don't judge me. Don't be an asshole.
But
Like,
we've lost equality for equity. And they're two very different
yes,
things. They're two
yes,
very different
yes,
things.
yes.
When
Agreed.
I was in midwifery school in the early 2000s, they were really pushing the equity thing back then. And it didn't sit well with me. It stuck in my throat and I couldn't figure it out, like what this was that just felt so wrong. And it led to what I would say is really the subjugation of women within the birth process by midwives.
Ooh, explain that.
Well,
For
when you
those who
take
don't know, can you just start by explaining midwifery? Because what I know of it is call the midwife, like that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So midwifery, depending on where you live in the world, might look different. But
Mm.
the name midwifery actually means with woman. I'm waiting for
Oh,
somebody to say that name has to change. Um, and it's an ancient, before the MD attended, the wise
yeah.
woman in the village would come and attend your birth. And she had attended hundreds, if not thousands, of births, and she would be there with you to give birth to your baby, a woman who had experience birthing her own children and attending other births. And modern midwifery sort of sprang from that. In indigenous cultures and in other parts of the world, it's still very active. In North America, it started as women who did not want a medicalized experience, who wanted to
Right.
possibly have home births, who wanted to have a woman with them, who wanted to have a known provider who was going to be with them through their pregnancy, their labor, and the next 6-8 weeks, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Instead of some person walks into your room in a hospital that is incredibly medicalized and says, I'm the expert on your back, Doppler on, don't move, kind of thing. Midwifery has become much, much more medicalized as a practice. It's now kind of more midwifery. And what's happening is there's this resurgence of radical midwifery or free home birth, where women are saying, I don't even want a licensed midwife. I'm going to give birth by myself with a woman who has experience in my own home. And I'm going to take responsibility for if the shit hits the fan, we're going to
Right.
have to call 911 or get to a hospital or something like that. So there's a greater accepting of responsibility again. But midwifery went from being this very female, woman oriented, the woman as the choice maker, the caregiver, full informed consent about everything, to it has become all the proper terminology to not offend anyone. So breastfeeding is now chest feeding. The mother
Oh,
is
wait,
now the
what?
birthing. Mhm. Throughout, at least throughout Canada and the United Kingdom, it
I
is now
have
chest
never
feeding
heard that
because
terminology.
because you can give birth if you're not a woman now, and you might not have breasts. So rather than offend somebody, we're going to make every woman feel like this has nothing to do with breastfeeding. It's no longer being a mother. At least in Canada, the United Kingdom, parts of the US, the title on the birth certificate now says birthing parent, not birth mother.
I'm
And I started seeing signs of
so
that. And that is a
confused by this.
politicization of something that is so deeply, yes, there is a small subset of people who feel empowered by that, but woman as woman is
Womb.
being dissolved,
Yeah.
disappearing. The woman as the mother, that integral figure in a child's life. If you are not a woman giving birth and you wish to have a different term, by all means, that is your right. But it is this removal of the woman from spheres of medicine and birth that is mind-boggling to me. And I started seeing inklings of that in the early 2000s when I was in midwifery. And I mean, women were still birthing mothers and we still talked
Mhm.
breastfeeding, but I started seeing signs of something with equity, which is where we started this conversation, that I was really uncomfortable with, like really uncomfortable. And this is where it is now,
I'm still stumped by the whole if
breastfeeding piece. Yeah.
yeah, like, I'm
Yeah.
really thrown by that. I'm really very thrown by that. Just
Well,
the biology of it. If you have your breasts removed, I don't know enough about the specifics of it, but if you have your breasts removed, um does that take away the capacity to have your milk come in?
depends what kind of removal we're talking about, but yes, normally. And you can
Okay.
still tube feed with a tube over your shoulder attaching to the nipple, and then you're
O
feeding formula through a tube but calling it. But it's
okay, so that's fine. That's great.
I feel like we're at
But
a
that's
point, and
different.
we're way off topic right now, so I'm sorry.
I
But
know,
I
I'm
feel like
so
I feel
thrown.
like we're at a point right now where postmodern feminism is actually a complete betrayal of all things that have to do with woman and womanhood.
This big swing. The
Huge
pendulum
swing.
swings.
And I
Yeah, the
think it's swinging
pendulum
back
swings.
again. I think it's swinging
Mhm.
back again.
Yes.
But yeah, that whole bit was just to say equity to me is a falsehood that tries to level the playing field when it cannot be leveled because
Yeah.
we have our own experience, we have our own culture, we have our own upbringing, we have our own point of view, we are not meant to be walking automatons who look like
Yeah.
each other. And to me,
Yeah.
this swings into something else that I talk about a lot, which is I feel like humanity is standing on a knife edge, on a precipice, and we can either tip over into absolute technocracy and the loss of our
Mhm.
humanity,
Mhm.
or we can begin to gather our faculties again and remain rooted in humanity. And I feel like
Agreed.
we are really wavering. We are really wavering.
Yeah, to me it feels like there's this split that's happening,
Yeah.
right? The what I call like the paper dolls. They just all want to look alike, be alike, and it's just this everything is the same. And you see it. You see it play out, women are getting plastic surgery all the time to look like one another.
Hmm.
Men are now entering that trend, which is interesting to me. And then you have the other, which is, kind of a complete turning away from being alike. And now I'm special because I'm different. And I'm more of the, can't we just, sort of be straight down the middle and accept people for who they are? And again, just live by the credo of don't be an asshole.
But that comes
That should
back
be the
again
name of
to
this episode.
it should be. Go ahead. I'd love it. That comes back again to knowing who you are in order
There.
to be in
Yes.
that middle. So it's doing that work and taking that time to actually ask those deep questions. Not who am I as defined by
Yeah.
what discourse or Reddit or Snapchat or Instagram or something else defines me as. It's not what does my, group, my social milieu say that I am.
Hmm.
It's who am I? And taking the time to learn that. And it's not always an easy question, and it can take a lot of courage to dive into that. But that's where the healing is too, especially if you have felt victimized at some point in your past, especially if you have a health condition of some sort. The healing comes from doing that deep work to see, who am I? Where did this come from? What happened in my life that has led to this? What is the emotional and energetic and spiritual underpinning of this physical manifestation? But we have to be willing to do the work. And that's the responsibility part.
Amen, Sister Sledge.
You have to be a certain
Amen.
age to know that.
I know. Oh, listeners, I'm assuming you are right there with me in, menopause. But if you're not, if you're younger than that, go look up Sister Sledge and enjoy the music. This whole concept of being able to go inward, like, I worked with clients for many, many years, and I would always tell them, you come to me with physical complaints and aches and pains and the whole 9 yards, and that you're actually at the end of everything that has led up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the cause. This is not your root. You actually have to go digging way back, because the physical manifestation starts as an energetic thought, an emotion, a concept that then just sort of snowballed into what you're experiencing right now. So if we can unwind that, let's help the listeners who are sitting here going, okay, yeah, well, fuck them. Everything is for my highest good. Well, I'm sitting here and I feel like shit, right? Because there's a whole lot of that.
Yep.
I think culturally, at least here in the US, I've noticed that it's like a badge of honor to be diagnosed with something. And I could say that, I can say that from experience. I was a spinal injury until I wasn't, until I decided, yeah, no, I'm not going to let that lead the room. I'm just not going to. And then I started to pull that apart, which made me very curious as to, well, if I think about even the physicality of it, I could go back a year and notice that I had symptoms. I could go back 2 years and go, I bet that was a symptom. I could go back 20 years and go, yeah, I think maybe that was a symptom. So when Marissa is talking about those gentle nudges, those little hints from the universe, listeners, we're talking about very subtle things. It could be something as subtle as stubbing your toe. It can be something as subtle as a passing thought. It is quiet, and it's meant to be quiet so that hopefully you don't experience the physicality of it. So can we help these listeners who are slightly pissed off right now, saying, you're calling me a victim and, I'm not. Can you explain how someone gets into this position of, I had said it with the psychiatrist, of receiving this label, receiving this diagnosis, pinning it to your shirt and then sewing it to your heart so that it becomes one with you. How do we get into that predicament? And then how in the hell can we start getting out of it? Because I think that is the solution for literally everybody on this planet.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. Let me start out by saying I am not saying that people are victims. I believe that we live in a society where people believe they are, where they are told by a medical system that they are, where they are told by an education system that they are, where they wear it as a badge of honor and don't want to heal it because that is their persona. I do not believe that people are victims, but I believe that there is a whole lot of convenience and possibly even reward that comes from it.
Ding, 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 ding. Can you please tell everybody
and I suppose
what's
I
the
should
reward?
say I'm not for everybody. Oh, I'm really good with that.
Oh, listen, 100%. And if you are feeling better in your life because you've received a diagnosis and I know what that's like too. When somebody finally told me what the hell was going on with me, I was like, phew. I actually felt better. Now I feel like, okay, at least there's a name to all the bullshit that I'm experiencing. I get that. I totally get that. And if that's where you're at and that's what's good for you, then by all means, be in that space. Be in that space. We're literally talking to the people who are frustrated with where they are and they want to make changes.
And I think at some point, a lot of people get there. They might not start out there. They might be pissed off right now, like, she's not letting me revel in this. Or she's telling me I should. I'm not telling you anything. I'm giving you my maybe transformational point of view. But I'm not telling you where you need to sit with this. I'm telling you my perspective as 26 years as a holistic doctor, having training in midwifery and all of the, watching and being present with people in my practice for, over 2 decades. So my point of view is that the medical industrial complex has systematically conditioned generations of people to distrust our bodies and our inner wisdom, to
Totally
create
agree.
lifelong dependency on these external authorities while suppressing the innate healing intelligence that exists within every human being, every single one of us. And for me, and my love has always been women's health and children's health. And now that I am postmenopausal, it's women's health at midlife and raising healthy kids naturally. And so that's where my focus is. But I really see this conditioning operating through two critical life phases in order to ensure that women never fully claim our power. One of them, it begins by targeting mothers from the time they're pregnant and then when they have children to establish an early compliance and a dependency on the system. And then it strikes again during midlife, particularly at menopause, when women's natural wisdom and intuition and authority would otherwise emerge most powerfully, having lived the lives that we've lived to this point. And when we medicalize both childhood and childhood development and a mother's inner knowing, and then midlife transitions, the system ensures that women remain disconnected from our sovereignty throughout our entire lives, while also ensuring that children grow up never learning to trust their own bodies. So that's how I think we've gotten here. We've come to believe that public health and the medical system really, really cares about us. And they don't. They really, really care about profit and the gods they serve, period. Full stop. They do not care. And what I used to believe when I graduated 26 years ago were just really unfortunate side effects of the medical system and medicalization and medication. I now, not positively, believe is the whole point of it. I believe the whole point
Agreed.
of it is to create perfect consumers from birth to death who will not be able to stop taking medication, who will never know the full capacity of vibrant health, physically, emotionally, chemically, spiritually, all of it. And more importantly, to leave us with the idea, or to leave us without knowing just how incredibly powerful human beings are, what our true capacity is, not just in terms of physical health, but also in terms of unspoken communication, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairvision, all of it. Because if you can just bury it under enough medication and shit, then you don't know what you're capable of. And it's not that men don't have these capacities, but women and our connection to our intuition, our inner knowing, women's rightful place as the individual in the home that is responsible for the healing of the family. Men have different responsibilities in the home, but women's, you discourage a woman, you convince her from the time she's pregnant that she cannot do it without the system. And then you ensure that in labor and postpartum. And you will make sure that this woman does not know how to tie her own shoes without asking for help.
Man,
So
you're
that's
making
how I
me
think we
feel
got here.
so grateful. You're so grateful for the doctors that I had who helped me birth our kids. And I did go to doctors. I did go to hospitals. I delivered in hospitals. I had two high-risk pregnancies and was on bed rest with both of them. My first OB actually retired to become a yoga instructor. So that lets you know who she is.
Yes. Yes.
And then my second OB, she was incredible. She said to me, Lisa, you know exactly what you're doing. And I was very much, very in tune with my body. And I would tell them, I'm perfectly aware of what the machines are saying. You've got me hooked up to everything, but I'm telling you, he's ready and he's asking to come out. I am telling you right now. And they're like, you're not dilated, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, give me half a second to talk to him, our son. Give me half a second to just check in with him. And I'm telling you, I can tell you the second he's going to come out. And when he came out, he wasn't breathing. And they whisked him away so quickly, and he was blue and he was across the room. And I looked at him while everybody is like in this fervent state. And all I did was look across the room and I said, breathe. And he took his first breath. And in that moment, magical things happened with our daughter, but with our son, in that moment, I went, oh, I get it. I get it. Just because you cut the umbilical cord does not mean that we are separated. And from that moment, everything just sort of, I say, started to come online for me, where I started to trust. And I was the first out of my sisters. There were three of us. I was the first to have kids. So how glorious it was to be able to be at my younger sister's bedside with everybody barking orders. And I took her hand and I just said, just breathe. Just breathe. You can feel it in your heart when you're ready to push. You can feel it. And she was like, this is so much calmer. I'm like, yeah, just block it all out. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And I was there for 3 births. I mean, how beautiful was that? Now, I can't be the catcher like that. I'll pass out. I can't do that, but I can absolutely stand bedside. And my mother, who is Japanese, I remember with our daughter, it was all such high drama because her cord was wrapped and blah, blah, blah. My mother leaned in and she whispered in my ear, and this is quite possibly the best thing to have heard in the middle of labor. She said, Lisa, our people have been dropping babies in rice fields for decades, for generations. Don't think for a second you can't do this. And I was like, okay. Yeah, I can do this. And can I get a burger and a piece of chocolate cake?
You know what's really interesting? When you have an unmedicated birth and you are just in your body and in your process, at some point, I think almost every single woman reflects on, holy shit, every woman throughout history has done this. And you feel like Wonder Woman for the next 4 days. You're on a complete hormonal and birth high because the import of that knowledge, we have always done this. So to be told we can't do it without
and it's glorious.
Medicalization.
And it's miraculous.
It is miraculous. And there is nothing that I love more than to be present at a birth and look into the eyes of a newborn, because you are literally seeing the face of the divine.
Yeah.
Literally seeing it. Their eyes reflect everything.
Everything.
And that experience, that connection to something so much greater that we are each connected to, is what is being stripped away by this technocratic approach to living. This decrease of humanity in all aspects, not just in the medical system. My last 26 years have been spent in healthcare and pushing back on a system that is so, I mean, the number of women that I know who have been told, she'll be hemorrhaging in early pregnancy, and you might as well just end this pregnancy because that's not going to be a baby you want to take home. I swear to God. Or that baby is just not going to be able to come out because your pelvis is just too small and the baby ends up being 6 pounds. Or, with a 45-year-old woman who's going through perimenopause and bleeding a lot, well, we might as well just take your uterus because you're not going to need that anymore. Or a child who's thin just because they're thin and you're told to feed them Nutella and shit in order to just put weight on them. It doesn't matter what the form is. That has nothing to do with vibrant health, any of those things. It has nothing to do with reminding us that we are strong and that we have this capacity, that if somebody nurtured that, instead of telling us what we can't do, if somebody nurtured all the things we can do and reminded us. But it's so funny because I talk about this and people are like, well, are you then saying that, if you're capable of doing, one of my phrases is, you are your own best medicine. And I have been challenged on other podcasts. Does that mean you don't think that somebody needs to take insulin? What? Like, in what sense am I saying that if you have life-saving medication, that I am saying, no, don't take that? Like, how do we extrapolate like that? No. What I am saying is that you have the knowledge that you need inside of your body to heal. And in some cases, you might need a little bit of external assistance, 100%. But that still doesn't detract from the fact that there is something inside of you that you need, that you can harness in order to strengthen your system and find the willpower, the commitment to take care of your own health. You mentioned before how, don't remember if it was before we hit record or after, that, people will either do it or they won't do it in terms of their own health. And right now I'm leading 50 women through a liver cleanse, a liver reset, and a whole bunch of, just a few supplements and a lot of nutritional pieces. And what day is today? The 13th? We're 13 days in of a 6-week process. And you've got those women who post every day about how they're doing and answer to, like, we put up daily posts and they'll answer, they'll respond. And then lots of women who don't. So I sent out messages this morning. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Just wanted to check in with you. And the number of women who it's day 13 saying, well, I haven't really done anything yet. So I'm thinking maybe I should just withdraw. Or what if you take the 4 supplements that just help with supporting your liver and you choose 2 recipes and make just a couple of nutritional changes? See if you can
Yes.
remove some of the foods that aren't healthy and add in a couple of foods that are, or add in a couple of recipes. But it's fascinating to see the difference between some people who are like all in. Yeah, this isn't super comfortable. It's not how I normally eat. I really like red meat. I really like dairy and I really like coffee, but I'm giving it my best shot. Okay. And those people who are like, haven't even bothered to read anything and I'm wondering if I should leave. Are you leaving because it's difficult? It's not, because you haven't tried anything. Are you leaving because you're not committing to yourself? You don't have to, it's
Yeah.
not about me. This is your own process. We've said repeatedly, your own process. Do as much or as little as you want to. Here
And
are the things
different
that are
is
helpful.
scary. Like,
Different
I
is scary.
recognize that making changes is scary.
But if we
Something,
can't commit
however,
to
listener,
ourselves, if we can't commit
something
to
is better than
ourselves,
nothing.
right.
Yes.
And we need to find a way to, number one, do what we say we're going to do.
Yeah.
And number
Yeah.
2, really be present for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because, there's the number of women right now who are reaching for GLP-1 medications in order to affect the same kind of change that you can really affect if you change some lifestyle factors. So again, and sometimes you can make all the lifestyle changes and still need a tiny little microdose of something. Granted, sometimes that's helpful. But how about we do the things first for
Yeah.
ourselves
Yeah.
that don't necessarily feel easy, that are a little different, that take a little bit of commitment to ourselves? There's that responsibility piece, that radical responsibility piece. Instead of abdicating your health care to somebody outside of you who's going to give you the magic pill of some sort or other, can you commit to your own inner healing? Figure out who you are. Do the work. It doesn't have to mean, and it shouldn't mean, spending thousands of dollars every month seeking expert assistance and going to
Yeah.
all the things. And I say this as a practitioner, and I know that you are as well. I wanted
Yeah.
nothing more than to remove myself out of the equation because you got yourself healthy enough that you didn't need to keep coming back. That you had the
Exactly.
tools that you needed in your home to take care of yourself. And you knew when you weren't feeling well and you would come in to see me because I'd always be there for you. But I didn't want you to have to be coming in all the time, whoever you are, because I wanted you to learn the tools that each of us is given.
Yeah.
Each of us, even if you have autoimmune illness, even if you have, mental illness, even if we've all got this capacity to heal to our own highest good. And then if we need help beyond that, that's where we
Yes.
reach out for help. But we had not abdicated our own responsibility in the first place and said, I don't know what to do. You do. You have the degree and you're the expert and you do it.
Right.
And so
Right.
right now, what I want to do is not do all the hormonal checking and all the labs for women at midlife and all those things, because there are some really good people doing that. There are some great people that if you want biological hormone replacement, there are some great people in the US and abroad who do those things. What I think we need to learn, again, is to reclaim that inner authority, either as younger women or again at midlife, so that we stand as either the mother or the matriarch, that wise woman, helping to guide our families, our communities, the world. We have to be able to look at ourselves and know that we're doing something, some work, not just giving ourselves away. Women are really good at giving ourselves away.
I mean, it's a virtue, right? Sacrifice, it's a virtue.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about honor of self? Can that be our virtue?
Yeah. That's the name
It's
of this
amazing,
episode. Honor yourself
listeners.
and don't be an asshole. There you go. There's
Don't be
your,
right. Honor yourself. Don't be an asshole.
yeah.
That's a great episode title. So, listeners, if there's anything that we would love for you to take away from this episode is how about you just pause on all of the noise that's coming in and spend a few moments every day just figuring out who you are. Introduce yourself to yourself. Ask yourself, what is it that lights me up? What makes me feel really good? Because it starts there, that little seed. It just needs a little bit of light to be able to blossom, to help you figure out who you are, what's right for you, and then take the steps necessary to honor that version of you, right? We're not going to make huge, enormous leaps from who I am now to, I don't know, goddess who runs the world. That's just not realistic. That's not going to happen. But you can be you now, and you in an hour, and you tomorrow, and you in a week. And believe it or not, all of those moments add up to create long lasting change in your life. I've been there. I've been through the entire gamut, and a lot of you have heard just little snips and pieces of my story. But it does. It's taken a couple decades worth of making choices that have been right for me. And now, see, I'm really super fortunate and honored to have a husband who, when our son was going off to school full time, I said to him, I could go back to work now. And he said, you could. You absolutely could. Or you can figure out who you are right here, right now, and do something that you've always wanted to do and didn't have the time to, because in all essence, you have 5 hours in a day where you're not going to be a mother. So what would you like to do in those 5 hours? And that was
Wow.
the beginning for me, that exploration into, ooh, who the fuck am I right now? And I literally was stunned into silence for days because I didn't know who I was. I was literally given a pause, and I had to face it. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know what foods I wanted to eat, how I wanted to spend my time. What kind of fucking music did I like? I had the Wiggles on all day, every day. It was the simplicity of that statement. How about you do something you've always wanted to do? And that introduced me to adult ballet, which led to gyrotonic, which led to becoming an instructor, a certified instructor, which led to owning a studio, which led to helping people heal for years and years, which led to this right here, right now, taking everything I've learned over the last couple of decades and pulling in even more experienced people than myself and sharing all of this knowledge with the world. You just don't know what you don't know. So pause and ask yourself, that toughest of questions. What do I even like? Who am I even right now? And in your self-discovery, get back into your intuition. Get in touch with experts who can help you see yourself for who you really are, help you form a plan of becoming your highest expression in every single moment. Reach out to experts here, like our Dr. Heisel. She's earned it. She's earned the title. I'm using it. Dr. Heisel. Please tell us, where can people find you? Who is your ideal client? And what can they expect?
So the easiest way to find me right now is on my website, actually, which is elementalhealingarts.life. And there are a couple of freebies there. One is called the Energy Elevation Blueprint that you can download. There's a 5-day natural kids wellness challenge if you're in that phase of your life. And then there's a guide for women more at midlife. And I do master classes and one-on-one calls. And eventually I've got a couple of signature programs that I want to launch for both of those populations. But I use website and email and blogs a lot more than I use social media. So that's a good place to start. And my ideal client actually is somebody who knows that there's more than the very limited perspective on health that we're taught, and might not know how to achieve that, how to get there, but they're asking the questions. Somebody who's resistant and just wants their medical doctor, the drugs, the surgery, the all of that, is quite honestly not the right client for me, because that's not been just not my experience. It's not that it's not my experience that I can't speak to it, but I don't believe that's where healing lies. So it's with people who are either already firmly on the journey and just ready for a different perspective, or are just stepping out on the journey and would like some not guidance, but some community and some connection as they walk it.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. This has been a beautiful conversation that has spiraled around in so many different directions, and I absolutely loved every second. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for
Thank you
being
so
here with me.
much.
Thank you for spending time, and thank you for sharing your expertise.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Absolute pleasure. All right, listeners, get on over to our website, scroll down. There's a link in the show notes. It's a great website, by the way. It's beautiful. I absolutely love it. Like
Thank you.
everything is soft and welcoming and calm, very, very calm. You know
Thank you. My
exactly what you're going to
twenty-year-old daughter
get.
actually built it for me, which I
Oh,
love.
she did an excellent job.
Yeah, she did.
Excellent. It's
She
beautiful.
did.
Everything
Thank you.
from the colors to the fonts to the layout, everything was beautiful. That
Thank you.
means that there's a whole lot of care and a lot of love and a lot of comfort in the energy behind it. So I appreciate those things. I love the
Thank you so
visuals.
much.
All right, everybody. Until next time, post your questions in the comments. We will come back. We'll take a look and let us know how you're enjoying the episode. Okay, that's it, listener. Before you go, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and set your notifications to never miss an episode. If you'd like even more with me, come on over to nagarelife.com. And if you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, go on and share it. Share it with somebody that you think would enjoy it as well. All right. I'll see you next time.